Welcome everyone to another episode of Vinny Makes the Hall of Fame case for ... And we are sticking around to Vinny's home area in terms of New York City. I'm Kirk Buckner. I run NotInHallOfFame.com, the United States Athletics Hall of Fame, and Vinny, our good friend who actually runs this show. You can't do a Vinny without a Vinny show, right? Vinny Makes the Hall of Fame case for. And you have selected Keith Hernandez for the Baseball Hall of Fame, someone who I'm assuming you met recently in the Long Island Hall of Fame.
Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame. However, we are strongly considering potentially expanding the name to the Long Island Sports Hall of Fame and including not just Suffolk County, but also the rival Nassau County as well.
All right, for those not aware, and point me in that category. Long Island is 2 counties.
Well, no, the physical body of Long Island is also comprised of Brooklyn and Queens. However, anyone that's on Long Island does not recognize Brooklyn or Queens because we look at.
But you are. You're in that category.
I'm in Suffolk County, yes.
Okay. So when we're looking at an actual county Hall of Fame, we're talking about a geographical body or population body of, I don't know. You tell me.
When it comes to Suffolk County itself, in terms of population,
geography. No, because I don't know.
It's above us is the Long Island Sound, and below us is the Atlantic Ocean. Right above us is Connecticut. We're more conservative than New York City. We are also, there's more fishing in like the South Shore. I'm on the South Shore of Long Island. The more like the wealthier people are in the North Shore. I guess poorer people are in the South Shore of Suffolk County. Nassau is more than Suffolk, like spillover from Queens and Brooklyn, where Suffolk, it is the larger county by land mass, but we're more so equal to Nassau in terms of our population.
Okay,
but
so
it is very
significant area in the biggest city in the United States.
Yes, we are still part of the New York City metro area. However,
okay,
yeah, that's essentially how it is.
Okay, so and Keith was just a recent inductee, no?
That is correct. He was a recent inductee into the Long Island Sports Hall of Fame because he has been living out of Sag Harbor for a very long time.
Okay.
However, you would have no idea he was really even there because he had a very, very low profile at the event. I saw him very briefly. I spoke with him, hey, Keith, congrats. He said, thanks. He just ordered a Corona. Like, he was like very in the shadows. Like Danny Green, he was there. His whole family was there. His wife was not there, but his whole family, for the most part, was there. You had some of the coaches in the area that had like 5 huge tables dedicated to them. You had the Ice Slip Fire Department because their relay team got inducted. A lot of them made it. You had when the police chiefs, he was getting inducted. You have a guy that name escapes me. He was there for also I saw there for like many years. He was in his 90s and was still as sharp as attack. Again, many people, but Keith, like he came in a party of one really himself. His family wasn't there. So he had a very, very low profile. In fact, he didn't make a speech. Like only a few people make the speech. Danny Green made a speech, and LaGrory made a speech, and the Islip Fire Department made a speech. We had like 24 people.
He didn't make a speech?
Nope. He just came, got a beer, got his plaque, and left. Just forget. You would have no idea he was even there at the event.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, he was there, but Danny Green was funny enough, like we were all screaming, "Get him in Cooperstown" at the event. But Danny Green, like in terms of like the headliner, in terms of like speaking, you would think Danny Green was like the real guy to like speak of because he's from North Babylon, 3-time champion. The only ones from North Carolina to be a NCAA champion and NBA champion were him and also James Worthy and Michael Jordan. LaGoria had some presence. Forget her name. She was like a 49 time gold medalist coach for gymnastics in the area. She had like a whole army of people. But yeah, Keith, much more quieter than you would have expected. But
Showed
we
up,
all
had
want
his
him in.
Corona and left.
He got there, got a beer, just walked around and left. And
That sounds like something I would do.
yeah, meanwhile, everyone else, yeah, it was more quaint for him. But other people was more of an event, which I don't know why. Maybe it's because Keith didn't want as much attention to him. Um, the other people were not like that, but
Or he
yeah, it
can
was
be
it was
bought
pretty
with a
cool.
free beer. I don't know, one or the other.
Got no, I think he paid for the alcohol if I'm not mistaken, but I think it might be free. I'm not sure. Again, he got his alcohol very quickly.
All right, okay, we're not selling him very well. Let's just move on to why.
No, no, no. Okay, I'm just talking about my time of seeing him at the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame. And this is no disrespect for Keith Hernandez. Like he was the one that people were really advertising. In fact, I actually got a rookie card from him. This was from in 1975. Here he is with the St. Louis Cardinals, and alongside right him is Tom
Bring it up,
Verizer.
bring it up, bring it up so I can see it.
You can see right here,
Okay,
Tom
yeah.
Verizer, who was also a member of the Suffolk County Sports Hall of Fame. Actually saw him mentioned. He's right here.
Okay, there we
Other
go.
two guys here, Phil Grenier and Bob Sheldon. But yeah, Keith Hernandez, there was like a 50 of these, and I got one of these for free. And Keith got like 20 of these. Kind of just crazy that now we have two guys in the same class. I mean, these guys are not from Suffolk, but these two are Tom Prizer, and that was pretty cool.
There's a bunch of jokes in my head. I'm going to hold off. Keith Hernandez, somebody who I like for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Stat wise, he's there 60.3 B war, but at first base, which is his problem and his legacy at the same time. Uh, when you look at first baseman, you think of these big, giant power hitters. Keith wasn't that guy. Keith got on base a lot, and was the man who helped revolutionize defense at first. Because when you think of a first baseman, you're not thinking of somebody who can actually play defense. More often than not, they're not there to do that. Keith could, and it's weird. His position helps and hinders him at the same time. I can't think of any baseball player for a Hall of Fame case where that's the case, where this exists. Am I wrong here, Ben?
There's other cases, but he's the one that really comes to mind for most people. I mean,
Yeah.
11-time Gold Glove winner, regardless of how people might think about Gold Glove. At the same time, we look at Silver Slugger and such a very, very high prestige. Gold Glove, I think, oftentimes gets ignored from a lot of people, especially in the case of Keith Hernandez. I mean, when you get 11 Gold Gloves, I don't care what analytics you use. When you have 11 Gold Gloves, you should be in instantaneously
Well,
with how highly he's regarded by that.
okay, so let's go defense here. A lot of the great regular position players, if you're playing first base or right field, I don't think I'm talking on a turn, usually considered one of the worst defensive players. Sure.
Yes, but not necessarily. When you're considered the best one, though, bit of a different story.
Okay, the best of what you're doing, yes. Right, but we're talking about the whole nine, whole diamond.
Yes, that's correct.
Where I love about Keith's defense is he tried to think differently. He
Mm-hmm.
was rushing bunts. He was doing things that others wouldn't do.
Yeah, he did a lot.
Right, exactly. So Keith Hernandez was a savant at first base in terms of reading what was happening to him.
Mm-hmm.
I think of Keith Hernandez, to me personally, as the greatest defensive first baseman of all time. Now, you could argue that's the nicest guy in prison, but I think very highly of that. Yet at the same time, let's look at his offense. Great hitter. We can agree on that. Over
MVP.
2,100 hits.
MVP in 1979. I should mention that. I think he probably doesn't get as much credit for the MVP season because
Can we
he did
put,
it with the Cardinals.
let's put a pin on that 79 season because I'm going to go back to that
Mm-hmm.
if I can. Uh, the first base position usually is, and I talk about this a lot, and another thing that I do on MLB Digest about Vladimir Guerrero, where you kind of worry that your first baseman's got to be your big power hitter. Keith wasn't. So again, you look at his defense, which helps him, and his offense, which as good as it was, it hurts him because he was a first baseman.
Yes.
You know, if he had the same stats in any other position, including right field, I think he's in the Hall right now.
Definitely. And it makes no sense why he isn't, honestly. And
There
not
are
only
a
that,
couple things I'll throw out later, but yeah, go on.
um, I would say forget just him as just a player, but and because I like to combine people's entire careers with the sport,
Yes, you do.
which
I'm
I
guilty
love
of that
doing,
too. But yeah, go on.
I don't understand how forget just him as a player. I don't understand why he's been covering the Mets longer than he's been playing in the majors. Like he's been with the color commentator with the Mets since like what, like the late 90s?
And he's
Like
good at
still
it.
oh yeah, he's phenomenal at it. And I never understood why up until 2022 the Mets never retired his number, which makes granted that's thanks to like the Wilpons. They took a long time to retire Daryl's number or Willie Mays' number or Doc Gooden's number
Why would the Mets want to retire Willie Mays' number?
because the reason why was because the owner of the Mets at the time said that she promised Willie Mays, I'm going to retire your number after you retire for what you did for the area of New York and for playing with the Mets in '73. That took a long
Done.
time for that to happen. Yeah, that actually happened. That's actually the story. But
Okay,
thing
I
is, a
didn't
lot of
know that. That's why you're the whiz kid. Uh,
yeah.
all right.
I mean, as a Met, obviously Willie Mays is further down the down it, but it was more so for what he did for New York. It's similar to how the team has when you walk into City Field, you're greeted by the Jackie Robinson Rotunda. And that's how you give back to local.
I got to go there one time. Uh,
It's nice.
can I,
It's really nice. That's why City Field looks like Ebbets Field. It's modeled off of it because the
okay.
Wilpons wanted to buy the Dodgers and they couldn't, so they just settled for the Mets.
I want to go back to that 79 MVP. Uh, One of the things that sort of bothers me when I look at sort of like MVPs and who won what, Keith Hernandez belonged as the MVP in 79, but he was a co MVP
With yeah, Willis Stargell.
who stunk. Okay, I shouldn't say stunk. I'm over exaggerating. Willie
No, he did
Stargell won
stink.
the MVP, the National League, NLCS, and the World Series MVP.
Hmm.
Stargell's MVP season was not an MVP year.
No, Hernandez was better that year, and also it's the only
Not even
instance of a
close.
tied. It's the only instance of a tied MVP, which is really interesting too. And
Well, can we look at the whole stats here behind it? Because
yeah, go right ahead.
I wonder if he was not a co MVP. So Keith's slash line, he won the batting title 344, 417, 513, 930 OPS. Stargell 281, 352, 552, 904 OPS. Stargell had the better power numbers because he was a power hitter. 32 home runs to 11, but Hernandez had more RBIs, 105 to 82. B War 7.6 to 2.5. 7.6 to 2.5.
Hmm.
I don't understand. Someone's gonna have to explain to me. Oh, Stargell, who I think he had less than 120 hits that year.
Yeah, it was. it was a weird season. But then again, he made up for it. He's the only guy in '79 to be an MVP for the league, a NLCS MVP, and a World Series
But that's
MVP.
my
Talk about
point.
like
Should he have been?
probably not, I would
No,
say.
no. And I don't know if this impacts Hernandez at all. I'm kind of going on a tangent. My apologies for that.
No, it's
Because
fine. I don't
because
care.
thank you, I appreciate that. This is your show. Because I think Keith is, if I compare Keith's regular season to Stargell, it's not even close.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Personally,
no, like it's fine. It's more so like kind of an interesting situation as that's the only time there's ever been a tied MVP. Like, still even thinking of the fact that there was a tied MVP at all is surreal in the first place.
well, also
But
too, if it was modern voters, this never happens.
no, it would not. And it's also weird for Hernandez too, because you almost never think of him as a Cardinal around these parts because even though he spent most of his time as a player with the Cardinals, you always associate him with the Mets. It's where his number's been retired. He's been with the team for a long time and was also the leader of the team in 1986. But don't forget, too, in 1982, he won the World Series with the Cardinals when they beat the Brewers, who
Okay,
were an AL team at that time.
so let's like fast forward to around that time. There's two big asterisks towards him, I guess, in terms of the Hall of Fame, because one, Whitey Herzog and a few other people said he never hustled. Whitey Herzog essentially pushed him out of the team.
Yeah.
The second is he's a cokehead. Sorry to put
Okay.
it bluntly, but he was.
So was Lawrence Taylor.
Lawrence Taylor was a special level, was a level streets
I'm
ahead,
aware. Yeah.
borrowing Chevy Chase's character in Community.
Yeah. He liked his booger sugar.
Right. Coke does not help you make a better player. Yeah, Doc Ellis had a no hitter on LSD, whatnot, but still, uh, I don't know the whole background of everything of Keith Hernandez, but obviously there was a lot of people who thought that he played his way out. Dave Parker, Daryl Strawberry, one of his teammates, Doc Gooden.
Yeah.
You know, Keith liked his shit.
Yeah. A lot of people do.
Sure. But is that one of those things where the writers, because it's the writers' things who's deciding this at that point. Now he's at the hands of the Veterans Committee.
I don't like either.
Fair, but for him to never sort of like get 15% of the ballot, is that not strange to you? Because it is to me.
It's strange if you don't know the context of how these voters act.
Yeah.
But with how I know the voters are personally and professionally, and how they tend to think of themselves as holier than thou more than any other kind of voting body, it doesn't surprise me. A lot of it more than anyone else is a good old boys network. And yeah, obviously the cocaine that he took hurt him in terms of that. Now, do I personally care what kind of drugs he used? Absolutely not. I could care less what he was taking
Okay.
because
Okay. Oh, yeah, but if it affected his performance on the field, cocaine might be a hell of a drug. It is
yeah, James,
not an enhancer.
yeah, James, yeah, Rick James said that, right? On Rick
Yeah.
James said cocaine one hell of a drug. I didn't realize
Yeah,
that was him
yeah,
because I
obviously that's what it is, where this comes from. So
tell
if
show, yeah,
I mean, like we see this all the time, where if you're a player who dogged it based on their own ability, who just sort of like got by on that and just I'm this good, I don't need to sort of like work. Yeah, there's a level. Uh, Allen Iverson was so good it didn't matter. He got in first ballot Hall of Fame.
Also, the culture of basketball is also very, very different compared to
Sure,
baseball.
sure, absolutely.
Like very different. With Allen Iverson, that kind of culture that he kind of breathed, it's sort of like in a way similar to Michael Vick, but the difference is that if Vick's culture was respected in the game as much like basketball, it would be a different story for him. However, Iverson's with the culture of basketball is more so appreciated in terms of his influence, whereas Keith Hernandez, because baseball still their culture still very rigid, very, very pearl clutchy, very conservative. They tend to look down upon that as
But
much.
you know what I'm trying to say, right? I mean, like,
Yeah, I know.
if you're a player in the baseball in the 80s and it's like you're playing at a 9, but you should have been a 10,
Yeah.
how much does that hurt him? I don't know. I mean, like, because again, it's players voting, or sorry, people voting on people. And I always found his lack of votes. I always wondered, was there more to it?
Oh, there definitely is. Without question, there's definitely a lot to it.
Yeah. I
It
like Keith
just
Hernandez. I think he should have been in the Hall of Fame. I think he hampered his own career, but so did a lot of others. Was he that?
yeah, it's like that's just how it is with these voters, honestly. And I
Yeah.
know I'm saying a lot to the voters with how they are and stuff like that, but again, a lot of it is on the voters more than anything else. I'd say like it's he did enough. I think he did enough.
Me too.
The problem is that with how baseball is and with how rigid they are and how much they prefer to just keep people in discussions and constant debate more than actually getting people inducted, then that's more so on the voters and it's more on the culture of the sport for not really helping people like that out. And I think in itself is an indictment on how the sport is and how it is in terms of appreciating younger fans. Because younger fans like me, I would have no issue with him doing the lines. I mean, hell, everyone does it. It probably, in my opinion, that actually might make him more interesting for me.
Well, it
Because
doesn't
yeah,
though. It doesn't if it impacts your overall performance.
well, no, it interests me a lot more because it makes him more relatable.
You never did lines.
No, I never did lines, but it makes him more relatable because he's more human like us in a way. He does coke just like a lot of other people.
Yeah,
He
no,
does.
no. I hear what you're saying, but I think sometimes some of the voters might sort of look at somebody who didn't do that, had less ability, but did everything they could to keep going.
Yeah, I mean,
You
again,
know what I mean?
it's a culture thing.
Yeah.
It's just the culture of the voters and how they like to keep people that think exactly the same as them time in and time out without any kind of questioning or moving the needle. And that's why you still see a lot of constant arguments over, oh, war is the devil, this or that. Still to this very day, like it's so stupid. It really is really,
Fair
really
enough.
stupid.
Fair enough. Either way, I think we're both big on Keith Hernandez. And
Very
I
big.
guess we'll close this here. Wherever you are, or wherever you may be, make this day count because it never comes again. Take care, everyone.
See you guys.